Happy Thursday, everybody. Thanks for joining me today in the locker room. I'm Alan Locher. The Emmy Award-winning real-life duo of Julie Pinson and Billie Warlock first met in 1999, but reconnected on NBC's Days of Our Lives, where they played Billie Reed and Frankie Brady, respectively. The couple wed in 2006 and have been together ever since. Julie made her daytime television debut on Port Charles playing Eve Lambert. In addition to Eve and Billie, Julie went on to play Janet Ciccone on As the World Turns, where she earned a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress. She also played the part of Shiloh on The Young and the Restless and appeared on River Ridge as Kimberly Reeves. Billie Warlock made his television debut on the 10th season of the ABC hit comedy Happy Days. He then went on to play the lifeguard Eddie Kramer on the first 3 seasons of Baywatch and joined the cast of Days of Our Lives in 1986. And in 1988, he won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Younger Actor. In addition to Frankie, Billie played A.J. Quartermaine on General Hospital, Ben Hollander on The Young and the Restless, Ross Rayburn on One Life to Live, and as Anthony Blackthorn on As the World Turns, working with Julie. It is my pleasure to welcome to the locker room Julie Pinson and Billie Warlock. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, there's Steve. This is Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen. How old is Steve McQueen?
Steve is a year and 6 months.
16 months.
A year and
Oh, wow.
No.
And what kind of dog?
He's a Yorkie.
Yorkie.
He's our little guy.
Everybody's saying they look so good.
Oh,
Well, that's nice.
thank you.
Getting up there in age, so that's a good thing.
You are.
Oh, so tell me, what's life like in Telluride for both of you?
Go ahead.
It's great. It's awesome. We love it. It's a beautiful place to live. We're right now, we've got a little bit of snow on the mountains. We haven't gotten as much snow as we would like, but there's snow everywhere. The mountains are huge. We're at 9,000 feet. And it's, it's just a gorgeous little town, and the people are fantastic. We love where we live, and it's nice not to have any more traffic.
We don't even have a stoplight.
We don't even have a stoplight.
It's great.
Wow.
But there's always so much to do here. We have festivals in the summer. We've got a million gazillion festivals. The Telluride Film Festival comes here every year, so that's kind of fun. And then we've got lots of bands that play, and we never have to drive our car because we just take our gondola wherever we need to go. And it's kind of paradise.
And the skiing is second to none.
Mm-hmm.
Our mountain is great. So
And do you both ski a lot? I know you, Billie.
I do. She does not.
No, I'm not a skier. No,
Not at all.
I just sit in the lodge, drink hot chocolate, and look cute.
I bet.
With
I
Steve.
bet. Do you miss the business at all?
I miss the work, but I don't miss the business. And they're very different, right? I don't miss, the chase, the politics, all that kind of stuff that goes into what goes into it. But the actual process of the daily work and the camaraderie that you have on set and what have you, I miss that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't miss the other aspect. And the other aspect is actually, unless you're working, is a massive part of the business, and I hated it. I mean, it's auditioning and being judged on a daily basis to get a job to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary thing. So we don't have to do that.
Couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I miss it. I mean, I miss acting. I miss, like, exactly what Billie said. I miss being on set. I miss my friendships. But I don't miss auditioning. I hated it. It was the worst thing I ever did, and I was not a good auditioner. So that wore on me after a while when I didn't have a job and I was out there going to all these auditions. It was really tough. So when Billie and I both decided that, maybe, all the soaps, most of the soaps have been canceled. And, we just thought, well, maybe, Telluride, because Billie used to have a house here and he always wanted to come back. And so, yep, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's right. I mean,
Yeah.
the business has changed a lot. And
yeah, we don't even recognize
yeah,
it anymore.
yeah, exactly. You know, and for 30 years it was great. I mean, I didn't mind auditioning. I actually didn't mind it so much because I was always fortunate to be, you know, right down to the wire. Like I always came in the 24th hour. I didn't go through the ranks of meeting the casting agent and then working your way up. And I'm not talking about just soap operas. Soap operas, once you're on that merry-go-round, it's just basically, hey, are you available? Do you want to do this? Which was great. But the other aspect of, you know, the movies and nighttime television, things like that, you know, I was fortunate to be on that merry-go-round. So I never really, you know, I didn't feel, I didn't mind auditioning because I would go in and be between me and one and, you know, maybe 4 or 5 other guys. So I knew I was going in right then and I was going to either get it or not get it. So I didn't have to go through the whole channel of callbacks and all that kind of stuff. Now, to even get an audition, you know, is a completely different ballgame. And we knew it. We went back to LA in 2013, and suddenly I was getting calls for audition. I was getting auditions for like, you know, paramedic number 4, and I realized, okay, I think my career might be on the waning end of my, you know, it was a great run, but I could tell that the light at the end of the tunnel was getting dark, and I was like, you know, I'm not going to hang on to the ski rope. I see so many of my friends that, you know, had a great run and then hung on to that ski rope and spent all their money waiting for the phone to ring and it never rang, and, you know, and they're destitute. I wasn't going to allow somebody to validate my life like that. So we quickly jumped ship and have no regrets.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, take me back. You know, as I said in the intro, from what I understand, you both met in 1999. Do you remember that first meeting?
The first,
I think the first one, we both had the same manager. His name is Michael Bruno, and we were
Oh, I remember Michael.
Yeah, Michael Bruno, and we were represented by him. And right after I got on Port Charles, Billie was on General Hospital, and Michael Bruno had us all go out to dinner to celebrate or something. All of his clients that we were all basically working at that time. He had a lot of us working. And I think that's the first time we met. But there's a good story about about the time. Come on, everybody wants to know.
Which one? Your 30th birthday?
Yes, my 30th birthday. Billie and I and Michael Bruno flew to South Carolina, Hilton Head, to do a talk show out there, a live talk show. And
for days.
No, this was for Port Charles, when I was on Port Charles.
Oh, okay. Back then.
Yeah, still 90, 97, 98 or something like that. And and we flew out there, and after the talk show, Michael,
it was on her birthday as well.
It was my 30th birthday, and so Michael Bruno and the two of us went to this Mexican restaurant, and we had a few too many shots. But that was the
You should on your 30th.
Yeah, we had a good time.
We had a good time, and that was the first time we kissed, I think. Wasn't that the first time we kissed?
Yes, it was.
But it was kind of a drunken thing, so I don't know. It worked out in the end. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say it, you know. I mean, yeah, we had a good time, but all 3 of us were pretty hungover the next morning, so.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And then you reconnected at Days?
Well, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So what
Let's
happened?
get this, spill the tea.
We started to see each other right after that, and then we decided maybe it wasn't a good idea. And about 6 months went by, and on July 4th, I get a call from Ken Schreiner saying, hey, I'm down on my boat in the marina, and Pinson's down here, and get your butt down here.
She was asking about you.
Yeah, so I did, and then we got together. Boom.
Yeah.
We were together that night, and for 2 years. And then in 2000, we were supposed to be married.
Mm-hmm.
And she dumped me.
Mm-hmm.
And she dumped me for 5. We were apart for 5 years, and then
until Days of Our Lives.
Yeah. And I was in New York at the time. Well, actually, I came back and I did a 3-month stint on GH, which is the best 3 months I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was going back to Days, and she, she's human. She understood her foibles and her woes, and she came crawling back, and I took her back, and
Oh, please.
and
Oh my
I made her beg a
God.
little bit. I made her work for it.
Yeah,
and,
right. He's
anyway.
so full of it.
But yeah, and then we got together, and then she dumped me again.
Yeah.
Well, it's
He's tenacious, man. He held on. He kept going. He kept
I did.
coming.
I did.
Kept coming, and I finally said, "Okay, yeah, let's do this." And I have no regrets. It's the best thing I ever did, and we've been married over 15
16 years.
No,
yeah, almost 16 years this year, right? 20.
yes,
Right on.
in August. In
Oh.
August, yeah, but
I
it's
thought it was 15.
so
Okay.
15 and whatever months. But we've been through our ups and downs, our highs and lows, just like everybody else. And I think you come through on the other side and you're like, wow, we survived a lot together, and we're still together, and we still like each other, and we still have fun. We have a good time. And I'm so glad that I finally married him after 3 tries.
Yeah.
And 16 years is a long time, and also, making it through this pandemic together.
Well,
you sort of know you're with the right person, I think.
but in a way, Alan, the thing is that when you're an out of work actor, there's a lot of time you spend together at home, just the two of you. So we were used to it. So when the pandemic hit, it was really, there was nothing for us to get used to.
Plus, we kept working. I mean, in the winter,
we're in a tourist town.
We're in a tourist town.
Nothing
So,
closed down.
I was working in the winter, and I worked in the summer as well. I like to play golf, so I worked on the golf course to get to play free golf, and had a great time, and which I'm no longer doing, but I loved it. And so the pandemic, I really didn't feel it.
It didn't really affect us too much.
Really
We're
didn't.
lucky. We're really lucky.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we're
That's
in such
awesome.
a little small town that everybody got vaccinated right away. We got tested, vaccinated.
Yeah.
We were lucky to survive it. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, with no problems.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, there are a lot of fans tuning in today for you guys. I was curious, is there something you could share about your significant other there that would surprise the fans watching?
Oh no.
That would surprise the fans.
She has no sense of humor.
None at all. None at all. I'm trying to think of something about Billy. I mean, I don't know. I guess the fans probably know he's a really good skier because we've been talking about skiing. I've got a good one.
What?
Just a couple of years ago, he put a little Just for Men in his beard.
What are you talking about?
I'm surprising the fans with something they don't know about you.
Yeah, but you made it sound as if this is just for men. And
No, he did. No, he did. He put a little bit of the darkness in there.
No, that's when I was doing. Yeah. That's when I was doing Y&R. I had a goatee, and I had to put some Just for Men in there. I Just for Men since I was in my 30s. All my hair. I've been gray since I've been in my 30s. So
wow,
that's not really that interesting.
Well,
that's
what
we could come up with.
I can't think of anything without going to a different.
And I don't usually
place.
have a beard or a goatee or anything like that. I just grew this about a month ago. I'm bored. Yeah. What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
What the heck?
Well, change your life.
The hair color certainly works on you. I'm 55. I wish it was as gray as yours. I would. I think when I was 40, I wanted it to. I wanted to look my age, kind of.
It's coming, Alan. It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, I know. It's really true. Billy, is it true your dad paved the way or influenced your desire to get into the business?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say necessarily paved the way, but definitely opened my eyes to wanting to be in this business for sure. I used to, the typical broken home syndrome. And then I moved in with my dad when I was, let's just basically say 13. So then I got to go in the summer. I got to go to work with him. He's a stunt man. He's a retired stunt man. And so I used to get to go to work with him in the summer. And that's when I had my first taste of, wow, this is really cool. Film is very different than soap operas, right? The way it's done. Soap operas are a play. It's you get your cameras out there. It's just like a sitcom. You got your cameras laid out, and you do the scene in its entirety. Whereas, you know, in film, it's pieced together, and it's just really cool. It's a very interesting. What's the word I'm looking for? I think film was a lot more interesting than daytime, but I did like doing daytime from the standpoint of doing a scene all at once, like a play. That's really fun. But yes, my dad introduced me, and in fact, he was hired to double Robin Williams on an episode of Mork and Mindy to skate down the Rocky Mountains. And my dad's a little bit too big for Robin. And so my dad suggested I should do it. And so I got a call to come in and roller skate and see if I can. And I ended up getting the job. And so I got to double Robin Williams in an episode of Mork and Mindy. And that's where I met the late, great Gary Marshall, who owned all those shows. And then, of course, he did Pretty Woman and all the other great movies he did. And then one day, when I decided to become an actor, I was very good friends with a gentleman named Bobby Hoffman, who cast all those shows. And
Happy Days, Laverne and
yeah,
Shirley,
Mork and Mindy, all those. And he said, why don't you come in and read for me? And I did. And he was like, you're funny. You can do this. I'm going to bring you into the producers. I was like, okay. And I ended up getting it. And
Happy Days.
And I remember Happy Days.
Crazy.
I remember when I met Gary for it. He remembered me. He's like, oh, you're my stunt guy. All right. And he gave me the blessing to go to the network. And it was between me and this kid named Eric Schiff, who I believe is doing pretty well in the producing world, and Michael Fox. And and I'll never forget, Ken Schreiner bumped into Michael Fox one night at the comedy club. And he walked up because, hey, I'm Herb Schreiner. I'm Herb Schreiner's son. And then he talked about Will Schreiner, who's his brother, who's a stand-up. And I also am good friends with Billy Warlock. And he was, Billy Warlock, how's he doing? And when you see him next time, tell him thanks for saving my career. And
because he went on
2 weeks later, he landed Family Ties, and that was it.
2 weeks later?
Yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Wow. When you stunted for Robin Williams, were you a stuntman, or you had just watched your dad and they?
I mean, I belonged to this precision driving team called Motion Research. So I was definitely training a lot. I was doing a lot of hanging out with all this. We had this Wally Crowder created Motion Research, which was a kind of trying to create its own stunt group. Like you had Stuntmen's Association, you have Stunts Unlimited. He was trying to create his own. And I was recruited. And so we would train. We would just train and drive. And so I was ready. And then when I got the call, I got to do a 45-foot high fall and skate down the Rocky Mountains. And it was awesome. I had a great time.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Julie, what about you? Because your mom was a classically trained opera singer.
Mm-hmm.
Is she kind of who influenced you on
Absolutely.
going?
Yeah, my mom went to Juilliard in New York in the late 50s, and she was, an opera singer. And so instead of pursuing her career, though, she decided to get married and have kids. And so when she settled down with us, she still kept doing local opera and theater in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so I would go see her in these operas, and she would be all dressed up, the wigs, the eyelashes, the costumes. I just loved it. I was enthralled. And watching my mom on stage was just, it was just amazing. And I was so impressed with my mom. And I just thought, I want to do this someday. I want people to look at me like I'm looking at my mom right now. So I just, and I started doing all kinds of plays in high school and all that kind of stuff. And then I moved to Los Angeles and started doing whatever I could in LA to start my career. But I was kind of scared for a while. I was afraid not to have a job. I was afraid to audition. And so I did a lot of stand-in work and extra work in Los Angeles until I finally got my first agent. And my first job was Port Charles. I just wish I had started earlier. I got Port Charles when I was 28. So I wish I had had more guts to put myself out there in my earlier 20s, because then I hopefully would have gotten there a little sooner.
So that's your message to anybody listening who wants to.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And I'll never forget, the best advice I ever got was from my father. when I was in my early 20s living in Los Angeles, I was, finding it hard to pay the rent and my electrical bills. I wasn't getting any jobs. And so I called my dad and I said, Dad, I think I'm going to move back to San Francisco and get married and have kids. And my dad said, wait, hold on a second. Are you able to pay your rent? And I said, well, yeah, barely, but yes, I'm paying my rent. And he said, are you paying all your bills? And I said, yeah, barely by the skin of my teeth. And he said, you're not going anywhere. You stay there and you keep going. Just keep going. And he wouldn't let me come home. So I stayed. And then like a year later, I got Port Charles. So it was, thanks to my dad.
Well, speaking of Port Charles, what do you remember about your audition or your screen test?
Oh boy. Well, it was pretty crazy because they actually had me screen test for all 3 of the lead girls. So I had to memorize all 3 of the different parts and, try and figure out the 3 different characters. And it was really exciting though. I was hanging out with Nolan North and Jay Pickett. God bless you, Jay. And Lisa Ann Hadley. We were all in one room hanging out together, and they were kind of putting us all on camera with each different person. Like I would be with Nolan, and then I'd be with Jay and Michael Dietz. And so it was, they were trying us out. And so I left the audition that day, the screen tests. And the next day I left on a plane to go to Egypt for vacation with my mother. So I was in Egypt for 2 weeks, and I kept calling Michael Bruno every other day from Egypt, from a little phone booth. If I could find one in Egypt, I'd call Michael Bruno. Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? And he finally told me when I got home, like 2 weeks later, that I got the part of Eve. And that's the one I wanted. I really wanted to be her. So
what was it about Eve that you want, what made you want that one?
She was a bad girl. It was
always more fun.
Always more fun to play the bad girl. But the bad girl never thinks that she's bad. Everything she does is for a reason. Either it's love or, she had a horrible childhood. She's trying to make up for something. So that was really fun. I liked being the smarmy, bitchy,
Well, Wendy Rich said some really lovely words about you a couple weeks ago when she was here. So.
Oh, that's nice. I just saw Wendy last weekend.
That's awesome.
At Stuart Damon's, memorial.
So yeah.
I told her, I said, Wendy, thank you for my life because of her, because she hired me. She and Barbara Bloom, I'm sitting here and I'm in Telluride with my husband. It's because of Wendy and Barbara. So I thanked her.
Oh, that's awesome. One of the fans, Kelsey, says, please tell Julie I loved her on Port Charles. I was devastated when they killed Eve. I loved Ian and Eve together. You were.
I was too.
You too. Billie, we were talking backstage. Can you take us back to your first daytime role on Capitol? And what you remember about you? I think you were hanging out with Ken Schreiner.
Yeah, I was actually at Ken's house. We were hanging out one afternoon, and my agent called Ken's place. I pretty much lived at Ken's, even though I had my own place. I was there every day. And she called and said, hey, I have an offer for you for like 5 days on Capitol. And honestly, I didn't even know what Capitol was at that time. And I was like, well, what is it? And it's soap. And Ken's sitting right there. He says, of course you're going to do it. Look, come on. I mean, it's, look at Daytime. Look what it's done for me. So I said, sure, I'll do it. Sounds like fun. And so the first day on the set, just doing a little dry block, and John Conboy comes out on the set, who was the executive producer and creator, came up to me and said, hey, I'd love for you to be on the show. What do you think? I was like, okay. And I ended up signing a contract, and I signed a 1-year contract, which is all I was there for. And it was a great learning experience, really. It was awesome. Good people. I really loved the actors on that show. Great people.
Who did you work with mostly?
You're going to kill me, but I'm trying to think of she played Brenda Clegg. She's now since deceased.
Brenda Clegg.
Yeah, and I feel terrible because we're going 83.
Leslie Graves.
That's it.
Leslie Graves.
That was 1983 or
Yeah.
3 or 4. So that's a long time ago. So my memory is a little bit foggy. But she's who I mostly worked with. Another one was Bill Bowers. But then Connie
So
Towers.
long ago.
I know.
Connie Towers, Constance. Yeah.
Yeah, and who then she came on GH. So we had a nice little reconnect there. Who else did I work with? The guy that was on Bradley Lockerman. I worked a lot with him, who was then on GH playing. I guess he was an alien or something on General Hospital. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it was a good
Days of Our
experience.
Lives did those stories.
Yeah. No, but it was a great experience, and I
what-
really like John Conboy a lot.
Well, and that was his baby.
Yeah.
That was
I
his
bet he
baby.
was pretty devastated when that show got the axe.
Oh,
It was. He was very passionate about that show.
yeah.
And I remember meeting him when he took over for Guiding Light, and he was like, "Would you be interested?" And at that time, I didn't want to live in New York. I remember going to New York shooting a movie in 1985, and I was terrified of New York. It was
Really?
a very different place
New York in the
1985, man.
Yeah.
Okay, get me out of here. But
I
then
started working in New York City. I was a sophomore in college in '86, so I know it was
it was
very different.
very different. But I love New York now. I mean, we live there, and I mean,
I loved it.
I loved it. Loved New York. Felt so safe there. Whereas in '85, I did not feel safe at all. But yeah, it's a great spot.
And then in '86, you got Frankie Brady. What do you remember about the audition? I assume back then for that one you had a screen test.
I did. I came in, and it was really more of a formality of how Missy and I matched up, which we did very well. And then I knew something. In fact, Wally Kerr tested for that as well.
Oh wow!
But those guys were there in case I said no. Well, he's gonna go. No, because the truth is, I was the only one which I knew something was up when they were like, "Okay, that's great. We're gonna do that scene one more time. Billy, take your shirt off." That's what I was like. What? I'm just gonna play a scene with my shirt off? It's not even like the scene was written where I get out of the shower or something. It's just like I'm walking around with my shirt off. So
they just wanted to know if you had the goods.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway, it worked out, and it was great. I really, that was a special time. Daytime was a special thing back in in the 80s. I mean 90s as well. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere. I mean, daytime was, if you were on a daytime show in the 80s, you were as popular, if not more popular, than a movie star was. It was insane. To this day, the most popular person I have ever been with, and I've worked with Oscar winners. I've been around a lot of very, very big people. Ken Schreiner in the 80s, nobody bigger. Boy, have I built up Ken this whole episode.
How much is he paying you?
And I was my own entity, but that guy was, I mean, I've never been about him. I mean, it was amazing hanging out with that guy. You couldn't, anywhere you went, the door just opened right up. And I mean, he was the guy you wanted to get on the coattails of. I'll tell you that. You can go, restaurants, didn't matter. You didn't need a reservation. Right in. It was awesome. Great time.
Julie, Shelley Henningbaum says, I remember the screen test day. You nailed all of them, but were the best, Eve.
Oh, thanks, Shelley. Hi, Shelley.
That's awesome.
I just saw Shelley a few weeks ago here in Telluride. She came to visit, so we worked together.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Julie, you learned in the 5 years, playing Eve? Like, who do you think you learned the most from, and what do you think you learned from that whole experience?
Well, once again, I have to mention Ken Schreiner. Because he was my opposite, when I first started. He was my love interest. And so, and him being, the old pro, I mean, he took me under his wing and he taught me so much. And I learned as I went. I think that I just kind of got better and better and better as the years went on. And I learned so much from, everybody basically, but Ken was my mentor.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. We love Ken.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Billie, and then 2 years later, you won an Emmy. Your first Emmy, Outstanding Younger Actor. What do you remember from that night? And do you remember what you submitted to win?
Yes, I do. I remember it all. I submitted, it was an episode where Frankie worked as a teen hotline.
Like operator?
Yeah, you could call me and I will talk you off the ledge. And
wow.
I got a phone call from a very talented actor who works all the time now. His name is Danny Nucci, played the role. You never saw him. He was on the other line, and he called me to tell me that, he was getting ready to off himself. And Frankie tries to talk him off the ledge, and the gun goes off. And I had just put my dog down about 2 days prior.
Aww.
So the timing couldn't have been better, to be honest. I mean, as bad as putting your dog down is, right? I was still an open wound about that. So that scene was so easy to play. And Danny was so great, even though I never got to see Danny. I only talked to him on the other, line. And I mean, he's just great. And anyway, that's what I submitted. And I'll never forget. So we go to New York. It's, live on TV. It's a big deal. I win. I had to fly back that night because I had to work the next day. And they wouldn't give me the day off. They wouldn't postpone my scenes. So needless to say, I was none too happy. And I'll never forget. I had my Emmy with me. I put it in the bag, and I have to go through the X-ray machine there at the airport, and the thing goes off, and they pull out my Emmy, and everybody's standing around going, "Hey man, look at this!" And of course, they all turn to me and go, "Who the hell are you?" I was like, "This is humbling, I'm nobody. I have to go to work tomorrow. Give me my Emmy." And I remember it very vividly. Yeah, it was a bummer, to be honest. I was really bummed because I'm so excited.
You want to celebrate?
I wanted to celebrate, and I couldn't. I literally had to be back at the airport and on the red eye back to go to work the next day. And that bummed me out. So there you go.
Yeah, it's something to celebrate, and to be told you can't, that bites.
Yeah, it was a bummer. Yeah. Oh, well.
Crazy. Julie, do you have a favorite Port Charles storyline?
Oh, storyline. Oh my goodness. I think my favorite storyline was kind of towards the beginning of Port Charles when Serena and I get into a car accident or something. The car kind of goes off the cliff. I'm on the cliff watching Serena and the car go down the cliff, and she gets very, very hurt. And everybody thinks it's Eve's fault. And so they're in the hospital waiting for Serena to get better, seeing if she's going to pull through. And, everybody confronts me, Ken, Lucy, the parents, the Baldwins, everybody's confronting me. And I think that's the first time I kind of became an actor, when I really felt this vitriol towards me and my character. And I automatically just started crying. And it was just it was a good moment for me because I realized, I do have this in me. I can go there. I can do this. And so that's the one that I remember the most. I don't like to think about when Eve was killed and Tom Bosley was my angel and he came to take me to heaven. I was super excited. I was working with Tom Bosley.
Bosley, that is awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Happy
That is I know, exactly. Yeah. Mr. C.
But then I was dying. Then I died. So, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave. So that was sad.
I bet. I can't read his name because it's in Hebrew, he or she, but he or she says Eve was iconic and deserved to stay alive.
Oh, thank you. Agreed. Darn it. I would
Yeah.
have stayed there forever. I would never have gone. I never would have left. So I loved it so much. And one thing that I wanted to kind of tell the audience about Port Charles, one of the things that was so fun, and Shelley Honigbaum, hello Shelley again, she was there with the interns. It was basically all of our first job, our first big job. And we were in our early 20s, or I was in my late 20s. But our dressing rooms were all on one floor, on the second floor of the building. And we were all together, and the parties that we had and the fun that we had, just us kids, oh my God, the world is our oyster. Here's our first job. And the antics that went on in our dressing rooms, I mean, nothing bad, but just we had so much fun together, and we loved being together, and it was a great experience.
And it was a first job, and you were premiering a new show.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I remember driving down the street in Los Angeles, and a bus comes by, and there's our poster on the bus, and I'm sitting there in my old hatchback Datsun 310 piece of crap car, and and I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the bus. I mean, and in People magazine, we the ads were all over People magazine. It was
and the jockey underwear.
And the jockey, I did the jockey underwear.
Oh yeah, wasn't that in Times Square?
That was Times Square.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was a great group of girls, but that was fun. I mean, it was, I've had an amazing life. I am so lucky. It's great.
Totally. A total flashback of being in Times Square and seeing that up on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Billie, in 1989, you created the character of Eddie Kramer on Baywatch. When you hear the word Baywatch or the name, what stands out? Because I'm sure that was quite a wild ride.
Ooh, what stands out? Wow. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I mean, it was a really fun show to do, but at the same time, those that have been to California and and visited our wonderful beaches, you have to know they're not so wonderful. Cold, dirty, yes.
Trash.
I mean, we would have a medic, following us around on set, just dousing us every time we got into the water, because Bologna Creek dumps out there, which is the sewage. So, it wasn't as pleasant as it looked.
Glamorous.
But I had a great time with the guests. I mean, the Hoff is a hoot. He's a hoot. I mean, the guy is a ton of fun to be around all the time. Very difficult to get through scenes with because he's just fun and funny. I mean, the guy's he's amazing. It was a great experience. I mean,
the Hoff. I love that. I haven't heard that in a long time.
What's that?
The Hoff. I haven't heard the Hoff in a long time.
Yeah, he's still present, but it got wonky. I mean, once the show got canceled off of NBC and then got picked up for syndication, first run syndication, the show changed a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't stick around. But, we just had creative differences. And of course, I was the idiot business-wise who walked off a show that ran 13 years. But I have no regrets. It was a great experience. And in fact, we just did, this guy, Matt Felker, just produced a Baywatch documentary that will be coming out this year. I think it's either going to be Netflix or Amazon. It's going to be like a, 4-part documentary.
That's awesome. The fans were just commenting that they were couldn't wait to see you in that. So
yeah, it was a cool experience. I'm sure I said things that I'll regret. Which I'm pretty good at.
But Baywatch was seen around the world, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. So see, that's what happened. So when the show on NBC got canceled, it didn't get canceled because of ratings. It got canceled because the great Grant Tinker, his studio GTG, want to bore you with details. It started to run out of money, and we couldn't produce a second season. We were penciled in for season 2. Tartikoff kept us penciled in for season 2, and when we couldn't raise the money, we subsequently got canceled. But the 3 guys that sold the show basically to Grant Tinker, went to Grant Tinker and asked to have it, if they could have the show back, because they figured out that the show was blowing up overseas. And that's how they ended up getting the show. And I'm sure Grant Tinker, Grant Tinker was kicking himself in the pants for just saying, yeah, sure, you can have your show back, not realizing it was blowing up all over the world. And in fact, I remember going over in 1990 for a movie premiere of a movie called Society, that I went over there. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced that kind of, paparazzi and all that kind of stuff. Because in daytime, you don't have that, right? You just, but it was crazy. I had no idea the show was that popular over there, but it was blowing up, and it was an interesting experience going everywhere. I was in Amsterdam, Germany, and you couldn't go anywhere. It was amazing. Yeah. It was a good time.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, everybody look out for the documentary. That's awesome. Julie, Billie Reed, Days of Our Lives in 2004. What do you remember about that audition, screen test?
I don't remember much about the screen test, only because I think I auditioned for Billie once before, before Port Charles. I think I auditioned for Billie, but I don't really remember much about the screen test. But I remember the experience at Days of Our Lives was great. I feel like I was finally coming into my own. I felt a little more like I could do this, because I had 5 years of Port Charles under my belt, and I loved working with Peter and Christian, Alfonso, and Peter Reckel. They were fantastic, and I loved the storyline with my little girl, who was a teenager, I guess, but it was kind of fun. I got to be a mom, and I'm not a mom in real life, so it was kind of fun on Days of Our Lives and As the World Turns to have a teenage daughter. So I kind of got those feelings out of nurturing motherhood,
and pass them off.
I got to experience that, and then so anyway, but Days of Our Lives, again, a great experience. I loved the crew and the cast, and I went to work every day on my Vespa because I lived so close to the studio. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I loved it.
Was it tough being a recast?
Not really. No,
okay, good.
No, not really, because I think Lisa Rinna and I looked so much alike. The audience just automatically accepted me because I kind of looked just like her. Lisa and I would joke about it when we'd see each other at these press tours or whatever. Yeah. And even Harry Hamlin one day when, we were at a press tour together, the three of us, and Harry looked at me, and then he looked at Lisa, and then he looked at me, and he looked at Lisa. That's my life. So I was accepted. I feel I was accepted.
Which is good. Unlike me.
Oh, General.
I've taken over for two different characters, and they were the worst recast you could ever. I was so not the right person for it. Imagine, the blonde Adonis, Sean Kanan walking out the door, and then in comes Michael Fox, right? And they were like, "Who's this guy?" The audience knew who I was because I had a following, but it took a good year and a half, 2 years to finally get people to go, "Oh, he's AJ. He is AJ now." And then in 2008, 2000, whatever, one of those, I get a call from Valentini at my house. I got Michael Bruno on the other line. Billy, it's Michael Bruno. I got Valentini. You got to talk to him. So we're on a three-way. And I was in New York. He said, "When can you get down here?" And I said, "I'll take a shower. I'll be there in 45 minutes. He's like, "Great. You're going to replace somebody." And I didn't really know who it was at that time. I'm like, "Okay, I'll come down." And he hands me, 50 pages of dialogue. He says, "I'm going to shoot you at the end of the day. You'll learn it." Well, who am I replacing? He says, "You're replacing Michael Lowry." I said, "A 6'2" JFK looking dude. And then again, in comes Michael Fox. We're going to get crushed. Don't do this. I said, "Call Austin Peck." Yeah. Austin Peck's perfect. And he's like, "Nope, you're my guy." And so I did. And sure enough, I got crushed again.
Oh, God. That's
you know, what are you going to do? It was a job. We did it.
Yeah.
And there you have it. But
You said earlier, I think, returning to AJ later was a great experience. Did you say that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
What,
You know,
what made it a great experience the second time around?
okay. So it's kind of a weird kind of I'll try to make a long story very short. Bottom line, I had re-signed on the show in 2003, and I wasn't 2 months into my new contract and went, I made a mistake. I don't want to play this guy anymore. They never wrote for AJ. AJ was a whipping boy, right? That's all he was there to be, was to get beat up by Sonny and Jason. I didn't mind getting beat up by the Quartermaines because we had such a good time. It didn't matter, right? But those two guys, and don't get me wrong, I loved working with those two guys, Burton and Maurice. It doesn't get better than working with those guys. But again, my character was just it was a vehicle for them. And so I realized I was not happy and I wanted to leave. So I left in November of 2003, moved to New York, which worked out well because I got to do the Normal Heart at the Public Theater, which was, it was awesome.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
So anyway, so I'll never forget the end of 2004, I get a call saying, I got Jill Phelps on the phone. She wants to talk to you. Jill says, I want you to come do the show. I want you to come back. And I was like, I'm not interested in coming back. Things are going well here. She goes, it's just for a short period of time. And I was like, all right, as long as I'm not coming back to get beat up by Sonny and Jason and or killed, I'm there. And she said, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. The weekend before, I'm supposed to leave on a Friday to work Monday. I find out through an inside source at General Hospital that they're bringing me back to kill me. So I called Jill Phelps that afternoon and I said, I'm not coming. See ya. And then I had a stack of papers at my door the next day saying they were going to sue me if I didn't come because I had verbally agreed to coming. So to make a long story short, I went and Jill was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, no. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to do my job and go home. And after I'd finished my scenes, Jill calls and says, please come up. I have Chuck and Bob Guzza and Chuck Pratt, the writers. They want to talk to you. It's like, okay. So I go up and they start pitching me, we're not killing you. We're faking your death. So we wanted everybody to think you were dying. Even the people that get the, like all the makeup people and all those people that get the scripts prior, they thought I was being killed too. Because in the breakdowns, that's what was written. So anyway, they pitched me this story and I said, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3 months. And they were like, okay, great, we'll take it. And within that, and part of the reason I didn't want to come back is because things were going very well for me in New York, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I go back to pack my bags. I go back for 2 weeks and then I have to come back to do the 3 months. And within that time, Days of Our Lives called and made me an offer I could not refuse. So needless to say, when I showed up on the set to do my 3-month stint, Jill Phelps, I thought you said you didn't want to do daytime. And I had Bill Liddell, who's a great director. Mm-hmm. Bill Liddell was on the set and Bill had heard about the deal I signed. And I said, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And Bill was like, it's true. You couldn't have come close to it. Yeah. And so that's what ended up. But during that 3 months, they finally, Chuck and Bob wrote for AJ. And AJ had a bat to swing for the first time. And it was awesome. He lost, but at least he got to fight. And it was incredible. And I'll never forget, Guzza came up to me at the end and he shook my hand and he said, I messed up. I had no idea what I had in you. And I was like, it's because you never gave me the chance. Mm-hmm. He's like, I know, I messed up and I wish you were going to be staying here. I was like, well, I'll go.
I think that happens way too often, that they don't give people a chance to.
Well, because they just, like I said, AJ was pigeonholed, you know? And so anyway, it was the best 3 months I ever had. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go back. But then they did kill me. And of course, then they brought Sean back. So apparently AJ wasn't dead after all. So whatever. But
nobody's ever dead long enough. Yeah. If the shows are around long enough, you can come back. I know you just attended Stuart Damon's memorial. Will you share memories of GH and getting to work with him again on World Turns, both of you?
Mm-hmm. I have a good story that I didn't get to share at Stewart's memorial. I wanted to tell his son Christopher that when his dad came to work with us on As the World Turns in New York City, we had Stewart over to our apartment one night before we all went out to dinner together to a restaurant. And I was so excited that Stewart was coming to our house. And I, put flowers everywhere. And I put flowers in the guest room bathroom, fresh flowers. And he came out of the bathroom and he came up to me and he said, "Did you put those flowers in there just for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "I just want you to know that I noticed and I appreciate that." Oh, and I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." So that's Stewart for me, not only working with him, which was fantastic, but Billy's got good stories.
You know what? I can't. He's a great guy. He was one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Forget even having, being blessed to work with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a great
Twice.
guy. Yeah, twice. But I mean, he's just an amazing human being. Just so giving and kind. And well, I'm sure, if there's any GH people out there watching this right now, you've been to those GH fan club things. The funniest guy I've ever been around. I mean, his sense of humor is second to none. And, we became even closer friends off the set because we belonged to a golf club together and we played golf. I was with Stewart 5 days a week. I mean, I was with him more than he's with his wife, or, when I was in a relationship, I spent more time with him than the person I was in a relationship with. Because if we weren't working together, we were on the course, and many days it was both. We'd go to work and then go play golf. And it was just a magical time. And then, and John Ingle was a part of that too, by the way. I mean, we were the Three Musketeers. We were together constantly. And I miss those guys terribly. They were a massive force in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mary just said you gave AJ a heart.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I tried.
So Billy, I think it was over the weekend. I called one of my best friends and I'm like, did we go see The Normal Heart at the Public Theater in 2004? And I'm like, I'm pretty positive we did. And wasn't Billy Warlock in that? And Mark Doby's, who actually, Mark Doby's literally used to live right across the street from where I'm living right now.
Oh, really?
His ex-wife and the kids still live here.
Oh, cool.
But my friend went to his bookshelf, found the playbill, and we went to see you. Amazing. I remember it.
Well, apparently not.
Apparently not.
Well, no, I did. I was 100%. I'm like, we did. I heard you talk about that experience.
I'm sorry?
I heard you talk about that experience as being one of your best. Can you explain?
Well, it was one of the best experiences from a creative standpoint. I mean, I remember when I went in and I met with Larry Kramer, and I remember him saying to me, "Why do you want to do this? I mean, look at you. You've done a lot of television. You've done very well. Do you know what you're about to embark on? Should you book this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm an actor. I want to do different things." And the funny thing is, I actually went in. I was originally going in to read for the Mark Doby's role, and which was that was an easy audition because the material that his aria in the play, it's the best monologue in the play, talking about his boyfriend being dumped in a trash can out back, so disgusting, but it's so easy to play because it's so heart-wrenching, right? And I read it and I crushed it and I knew it. And that's when Larry stood up and he asked me to go outside and prepare for Felix, who was the lover to Ned. Ned is his alter ego. I don't know if you know this, but he is Ned. And I was terrified about that role. In fact, I remember when my agent called and said, you're going to go to New York and audition for this. I was living in LA at the time. I was like, as long as it's not Felix, I'm good. And sure enough, that's the part I ended up being fortunate to play. But what got me through that was the great Raul Esparza. That guy is a beast. best actor I've ever worked with. And I've worked with Oscars, you know, people that have won Oscars before. He's the best I've ever been around. That guy is amazing and giving. I'll never forget one night I went up big. I mean, lights were on, nobody was home, flop sweat, and he just sat there and laughed at me. And I was like thinking to myself, you're in this with me. How can you, it was just he and I. How can you be so calm, cool, and collected when the lights are on and nobody's home with me? You know, and he threw me something, and luckily the light switch went back on, and we went through the scene again, and it was awesome. It was better than sex, let me tell you. To get, oh my God, thank you. You know, but he was just amazing. But yes, it was an incredible experience. I got nominated for a drama league award, which they gave to Hugh Jackman. I can't believe it.
Who's that?
Who's that? I really remember it. I just had to call him and say, didn't I go with you? But yeah, I remember. That was something.
Yeah,
I'd never seen that show until that time on stage. So
that's a feel-good show.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
Julie, we have to talk about Janet Ciccone.
Oh, Janet, my
favorite. Which you earned an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress.
Oh, look at how young we were, babe.
Stephen Bergman sent that photo.
Oh, hi, Steve. I love Steve Bergman. He's awesome.
I mean, you worked with a few talented folks over there.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
Michael Park. I don't know. Yeah, that was my favorite role. That was my absolute favorite.
Why?
Not just because I won the Emmy for that, but because I finally got to be myself. Janet was more like me than any of the other characters I played. And that was because Christopher Goutman and the writers and the producers at that studio let me do whatever I wanted.
I wouldn't say it was yourself. It was you got to create that character. Like really they let you run.
They did. They let me run.
Yeah.
They let me, you know, I ad-libbed a lot, and I kind of was able to bring my sense of humor into the role at certain times when it called for it. And, you know, working with Michael Park, I mean, Maura West, who just threw me the best lines and the best looks, and even Austin Peck, who played my brother on Days of Our Lives. It was great reuniting with him as my former lover that I was obsessed with. Oh, the father of my child.
Mr. McCooch.
And
yeah, Grayson McCooch.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yep, Grayson. That was at the end. And then Meredith Hagner, who played my daughter, who's kind of blowing up right now on TV.
She's doing quite well.
Yeah.
Yes, and you're welcome, Meredith. You are so she learned it all from me.
She did.
Yeah, so that was just a great experience too. I mean, it was just, you know, I'm just so lucky.
It's a great set. It was a
great set. And then I got to work with Billie. I forgot.
Yes.
And Billie and I had so much fun working together. That was great.
Well, and John Lindstrom again.
And Lindstrom. Oh yeah, yeah.
It was like old home week.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Great.
And Billie, you got to work with La Hubbard, right? Elizabeth Hubbard.
Yeah, I sure did. She's great. Everybody's great on that show. Just they were all pros, and you just, you know,
nobody had a big head.
Yeah, that's the thing that, you know. It was interesting, the different atmosphere on that show compared to the other shows that I had done in LA. It was a very different atmosphere from Days, YNR, GH, obviously. This show was just, it just was a no nonsense, gritty. And what I mean by gritty is just people came in, you did your job, you went home. You know, you said hello, you did, you know, all that good stuff. But after that, it was let's do the job. And everybody wanted to go home to their families and kind of do their thing. Yeah. It was a job. It wasn't their life. Right. Whereas I have to say in LA, some of the people are like obsessed, you know, you know, it's my life, it's my career, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It was just so refreshing to be with this group of people that they didn't care that somebody had a storyline and
there was no ego.
There was no ego, you know, it was just like, hey, I'm here, it's paying my bills and life is good. And
I loved my peeps at JC Studios.
Yeah,
It was a-
JC Studios. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what it was called.
Now, I would say, I'm not gonna lie, the setups in LA are a much better setup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your dressing room, your hike to Brooklyn,
Yeah.
not that easy.
Good
No,
old,
not
good
that
old
easy.
Avenue M.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to ask before we wrap this up, Julie, where did your love of baking begin?
Oh, I had an aunt that loved to bake. And so when I was a little girl, I grew up watching her. I'd go to her house and she'd be doing all the roses and the cakes and everything. And I have a huge sweet tooth. So, you know, I don't know.
Huge.
So I just started baking and I love it. But now that I'm at 9,000 feet, it's a whole different story. It's not that good because the cakes fall. But before we go, I did want to say hi to my friend Sandy Hill.
Yes.
And Brandy and Dina Marie Greenway. And so I just wanted to give them a shout out because
I'm glad you did. Billy, what is your favorite thing she bakes?
All of it. I'm a, you know, I'll eat anything she puts in front of me. She knows it. I mean, but sweets or dinner, I don't care.
I like to cook too.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm a casserole queen.
I think my favorite thing that she makes is lemon meringue pie. I'm kidding. It's the one thing she can't do.
It's the one thing I can never get right. I can do everything else. I can do everything. I can do.
Well, what's your favorite thing that you make?
Gosh, I probably like the lemon around the springtime. I make a lot of lemon cakes and things with lemon curds and things like that. So, but I mean, I make some pretty damn good birthday cakes for my husband. You know,
and everybody else.
And
everybody always asks her, hey, you know, we're having a party, and really, truthfully, she gets invited because she has to make the cake.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'm married to him. He loves to bake too. So loves. I'm very lucky because I love sweets too.
There you go. You go. And I love anything chocolate. I do a lot with chocolate and you know, but I really like cake decorating. That's where I think I excel. It's the decorating.
Oh, that's great. That's cool. Yeah, that he can't do. Castleborn says, please tell Julie that she never looked better than playing Kimberly on River Ridge. And Enchanted Ella says, Billy Warlock and the Fountain of Youth. He looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you both for doing this. It's a pleasure to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Good to see you.
And thank you everybody who tuned in today.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And we love you guys for still caring about us. We're still here. Come visit us and tell you're right.
They certainly do. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye, Alan. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Thanks to my guests, Julie Pinson and Billy Warlock, for spending some time here. Join me tomorrow when the Lewis family from Guiding Light, Rebecca Holland, Robert Newman, and Krista Tessero join me live. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. Have a great evening, and I will see you all tomorrow.